Now, it's no secret to anyone who's watching WWE TV at this moment in time that L.A. Knight, is one of the most over guys on the roster. Every time his music hits, the crowd goes nuts. They follow along with everything he has to say. We've seen this get progressively better and bigger and louder over the past, give or take, 6 months, even after the fact that he wasn't a part of WrestleMania. So, over the past 6 months, wrestling fans in the IWC specifically have been asking and wondering and debating as to why WWE hasn't strapped a rocket on this guy, put a championship on him, and let him go. Let him go freely and be the top star that we all know he can be. And I can vouch for that because I've seen him since his TNA days when he was Eli Drake. Yeah. Now, if I'm not mistaken, he's about 40 years old, which again, it's, for the most part, it's just a number. I think he still could be, maybe at the tail end, but he still could be in his prime, certainly. You don't notice that when he's on the microphone. Again, The Miz pointed out some really good flaws about him in terms of him just spitting out catchphrases left and right. Over the past few weeks, ever since that promo, he's been working on that particular part of his character. So again, that's going to improve over time. And WWE is noticing this as well because there are reports that they're negotiating and they're about to come to a deal, multi-year deal, for LA Knight to stick around with WWE for the long run. And like I said, he's very over. His merchandise keeps selling off the website, off the merch stands at the arenas. So again, it all seems that everything is falling into place for L.A. Knight. So why is WWE reluctant to really get behind this guy and push him to the moon, push him to a top spot, push him to even the mid-card championship? Because I bet your bottom dollar that anyone who's watching WWE would rather have L.A. Knight as United States champion right now than Rey Mysterio. And Rey Mysterio is a legend, but Rey Mysterio, last time I was excited for him as a champion was back in 2009 during his feud with Chris Jericho over the Intercontinental Championship. And that's, 14 years ago? So, with that said, WWE has this tendency of really doing this slow burn. And if you don't believe me, look at what's going on with Cody Rhodes. And Cody Rhodes is one of the most over babyfaces. He's certainly more over than LA Knight is right now. I don't think that's debatable. But Cody Rhodes is yet to be world champion. Cody Rhodes lost at WrestleMania to Roman Reigns when everyone thought that WWE was positioning him perfectly to beat the tribal chief, and he didn't. And now, 6 months later, almost 6 months later, Cody Rhodes is still very over. He's still getting that slow burn. He's still nowhere near finishing his story. He's still nowhere near the world title. And for all intents and purposes, we might not get that until next April in Philadelphia. So that's a full year, even more since his return, 2-3 years at this point. So WWE has a tendency of making this a slow burn, making it a slow build, especially with babyfaces, but it hasn't always been the case. Because they've pushed Roman Reigns down our throats. And it's finally been working. They pushed Brock Lesnar back in 2002 when he made his debut to the top, and he stayed there for 2 years, and then he had to leave. And that backfired on WWE. Hell, when Randy Orton made his debut in 2002, they started pushing him like crazy in 2003 and 2004. And then they realized in 2005, 2006, 2007, this guy's kind of self-destructive. He's not completely mature. We can't really get behind him. So again, there's a tendency of backfiring. And really the only person I can think of that WWE really pushed down our throats, pushed them to the moon, didn't backfire on the company at all because it made good business. The crowds, even though they were mixed, reactions every single time he went out. He still generated views, money, merch sales, reaction at all. People cared about him, whether they liked him or they hated him. And that, of course, is John Cena. Everyone else that WWE has ever pushed to the moon or pushed rapidly, swiftly, to the point that they're trying to get him over so quickly that the fans notice this and then they push back on it. So again, those are the precedents in this case. Now, in terms of pushing him to the moon, in terms of making him reach his ultimate goal, the question is, then what? Because January, February, March, even April of this year, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, hottest babyfaces on the roster along with Cody Rhodes. They got immense, amazing reactions. People cared about them every time they showed up on the roster, every time they showed up on TV. And then WrestleMania happened. They beat the Usos in the main event on night one. They reached their goal. They became tag team champions. And then what? And then what? Again, that's partly on WWE Creative for not giving them too much to work with after the fact, after they work with the bloodline. So some responsibility, does fall on Creative. But that's just human nature. When you reach a goal, you have a tendency of not knowing where else to go. What's your next move? Should I care? Should I not care? What should I do? And then from that moment forward, the attention shifted. The attention of the WWE fan base shifted away from Owens and Zayn, and it shifted to Cody finishing his story. Cody versus Brock. It shifted to many other stars on the roster. And like I said, Cody Rhodes lost. He got screwed out of the world title at WrestleMania. People still care to this day about him. Just as much, if not more, than they did 6 months ago. So again, I understand why WWE is reluctant and kind of worry of pushing LA Knight at this moment in time. But I will say this. There's no harm, there's no shame in giving him a run with the United States Championship. Just see how he does right then and there. And then this past Friday night on SmackDown, he had an amazing showing against Grayson Waller, and Austin Theory. So again, if it were up to me, I'd at least push LA Knight into the mid-card, upper mid-card. Give him that 2004 John Cena run. Prep him for the main event. Prep him to be a top-level star by giving him the mid-card championship. I don't know, just spitballing here, throwing out ideas. And again, LA Knight, lifelong fan right here. That's never going to change. I've seen him in Impact, seen him in NWA, NXT, and now SmackDown and WWE. So with that said, what are your thoughts? Why do you think WWE is reluctant to push LA Knight to the top of the card or even the mid-card of the card? Leave your thoughts, comments, and predictions on the comments section below. Tune in later on tonight to the USA Network for another episode of NXT. I'm Alexis Carrillo. This has been Wrestling Talk, and I'll see you next time.